Let me now move to the second pillar of documentation, the German documentation, because I have a lot more to say and I have to be brief. The German documentation has extraordinary significance because, as I mentioned before, Imperial Germany was a military and political ally of Ottoman Turkey. It is inconceivable, ladies and gentlemen, that during the war, an ally would dare to blaspheme, to accuse falsely an ally. It's inconceivable. As a matter of fact, German consuls, German ambassadors went out of their way to conceal the mass murder for several weeks. But they reached a point where concealment was no longer possible. Why? Because the German consuls deployed in the interior of Turkey, in Trabzon, in Harput, in Adana, but above all in Erzurum, were recording and reporting week after week the details of the unfolding Armenian Genocide. So Turkish German ambassadors felt compelled to finally tell Berlin that this is not an ordinary deportation, this is centrally organized mass murder. A more important feature of German documentation is the following fact. All these German reports sent from Erzurum, Trabzon, Adana, Harput, went to Istanbul and then to Berlin. And all of them had the following four categories: confidential, highly confidential, secret, and top secret. In other words, these reports, ladies and gentlemen, I underscore this point, were not intended for public consumption. They were intended for internal use, for the eyes of high governmental officials. In other words, if you remove the fact that they were not intended for publicity, this enhances the power of the document, that it was not distorted. A German official performing his duties, informing his superiors what he witnessed, what he saw, what the facts are. So there was no tinge, no element of desire for propaganda. It was purely internal working arrangement among German officials. And in all the German documentation, and I have been to Bonn while the archives were there, almost 17 times, and I have hundreds and hundreds of documents. And you know what is the most significant feature of all these documents? No German consul, no German ambassador ever, or if they do, very rarely use the twin word deportation. It's all Armenian massacres, Ausschlachtung, Vernichtung, the German words. You rarely come across the word deportation in German documentation. The heart of the matter was not deportation, was destruction of the deportee population. And German documentation abounds, I underscore the word, with the word Vernichtung, Ausrottung. I can hardly find the German word for deportation in hundreds of reports issued from Erzurum, the epicenter of the Armenian Genocide, and then from Adana and Trabzon. Even the consul in Trabzon, a very Turkophile official. Among the German consuls, he was the most Turkophile, committed to the ideas of Young Turk Party. But even he, in one point, said, I feel compelled to inform my government that this is not ordinary deportation. And he ridiculed the idea of relocation. He said the purpose, the central purpose is the obliteration of the Armenian population, period. Now, if you I'm skipping now Austrian documentation because Austria was also a political and military ally of Ottoman Empire, but they are almost duplication of what the genocide. Let me move now, in the light of all this, what I call compelling evidence, to the third part, reconstruction of the Armenian genocide. In the light of all this documentation,